So Justin, you have a really interesting job. I think it's kind of an unusual one. Not many people do what you do. How did you get this job?
I always joke I've never had a real job. I went into a grad school and I was a graduate assistant in engineering, computer engineering. And Dr. Hargrave at the time was a faculty member in information systems, and he was starting the RFID lab. So he hired me on as his GA, which he always told me, he's like, if he knew what a pain in the butt it would be to hire an engineering GA into the business college, he wouldn't have done it.
And what is a GA?
Graduate assistant.
Oh, okay.
I was doing my master's, and he needed someone to help him on the tech side because that was at the early phases. That was like '04 when RFID was just kicking off with Walmart and others. So it was very funny because I was really naive. I was a grad assistant, going to college, and I remember him saying, we went from a conference room to a basement to a warehouse in 6 months. And I remember him saying, hey, we need a manager for this lab. And I was like, oh man, it sounds like a sweet job. I can't wait to see who's going to get this. And he's like, so we need someone that could run this daily day and get paid for it. I'm like, oh, it sounds awesome. He's like, you want to do it? And I was like, so it blew my mind. I got that job right out of the bat, was doing that while I was still getting my master's, and it just took off from there. So I started.
What was your master's in?
Computer engineering. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, and it was business college, which was very helpful in terms of understanding like why we're doing what we're doing a lot of times. And from there it grew and eventually ended up here at Auburn. So all the students, whenever they're going out for job interviews and stuff, they'll ask me to look at the resume. I was like, don't ask me. I've never gone to a real job interview before. I'm never left the university. I'm Peter Pan. I'm never leaving.
So how did it evolve from a warehouse into what it is at the moment? That's like 16 years, longer. How did that happen?
I don't know. It was very funny because at the beginning we used to tell people this is going to be a 5-year lab, right? Because most academic labs, they kind of peter out after a while. But, as you know, the journey to, item level identification is way longer than I think anybody really thought when we set out. So we just needed it. I mean, it's just every time something would happen. So we started out with supply chain, and then we shifted to retail store operations. And then after that, we got real heavy in aviation, and now coming into food and pharmacy. So all these industries keep coming up, and these problems keep popping up over and over again. So we just kept growing. And then eventually Dr. Hargrave became the dean of the business college and the provost at Auburn. We moved down here to join him. And then 2 weeks ago, he became the president of the University of Memphis. But
all right.
I'm not moving again. That's too much. That's too much for right now.
Well, I think it's an amazing job. You get to do some really interesting work, and you have people coming to you. What do you think is next? Is this a lifetime commitment, or what? Have you arrived, or is there something beyond this?
A life sentence. So I think, I don't know. We don't want to be reactive. We want to be proactive, right? But everybody's selling something at the end of the day, no matter where you work and what you do. And we're very lucky because I think the product that we sell is students, right? So we train the students, and then they go out and get jobs, and hopefully we help develop the industry that they go work in. So that's a never-ending process, and you can always get more and more students from more and more disciplines and grow more and more areas. So I think that space is the next big thing right now. What's happening currently is there's not a real supply chain up in orbit. There's the ISS and there's here, so it's kind of a one-way trip up and back. But here in the next 5 years, you got Axiom putting up their private station. You've got other countries looking up and putting their own stations up there. We've got Gateway going around the moon, the logistics module that's going over there, the surface missions. We've got deep space logistics going to Mars and beyond. So we've had a lot of conversations with those folks about there are no real standards. If you look at the IMS system, the inventory management system on the ISS, it looks like it's just kind of bolted together over time. So that's a whole new area to move out into, and that opens up a whole new avenue for student education and things as well. And those things reflect well on what happens on Earth. It's hard to get, this, it's building confidence in what you're doing is sometimes difficult to explain to people. and you say, but they use it on the space station, or NASA does this, or SpaceX does that, then it gives it a little bit of cachet, and it makes it easier for people to grasp onto and understand what's happening, I think. So it's fun.
That is very exciting to hear. There's been so many technologies that we use, from the fundamental computing technology to non-stick bands and Velcro, that have had their boost as a result of going into outer space. And I feel like Auto ID, RFID is really on the ascendance now, but actually having something like that to shine a light on it and fire people's imagination could do a huge amount.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Mr. Beacon podcast here on YouTube. You can listen to the rest of this episode on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you enjoyed it, please like and share this video, and be sure to subscribe for more weekly videos. For more information about Wiliot and IoT Pixels, head on over to wiliot.com.